SEC is attacking Kraken this week. New charges dropped from Gary Gensler's SEC. I'll read the press release title. The SEC charges Kraken for operating as an unregistered securities exchange, a broker, a dealer, and a clearing agency. Otherwise, I think, David, known as a crypto exchange. Maybe you can't do that in America. I'm not so sure. David, tell us some of the details here. What are the claims that are being filed against Kraken by the SEC?
Yeah, so the SEC alleges that Kraken provides a marketplace that brings together the orders for securities and multiple buyers and sellers and thus operates as an exchange. The only part about that is that they use the word securities. Engages in the business of effecting securities transactions for the accounts of Kraken's customers and thus operates as a broker. Engages in the business of buying and selling securities for its own account without an applicable exception and thus operates as a dealer. Serves as an intermediary in settling transactions in crypto asset securities by Kraken's customers and acts as a securities depository and thus acts as a clearing agency. All of these, Ryan, are normal crypto exchange operations. The only thing that is different here is that they are being flavored by this security word. Basically saying that, hell, all those things that you are doing, all those assets, all those tokens, all those coins are all securities, and therefore everything you do makes you a securities exchange.
Yeah, and if I'm reading this, David, they of course, as usual, needs because they dropped a similar suit against Coinbase, right? So this isn't the first time, but they mention a few, token, what they would call securities. We call these just crypto assets or tokens, cryptocurrencies. ADA, so that is Cardano. Algorand, Atom, File, Flow, all sorts of things as usual. But they're basically saying these are all securities. I know we've provided clarity. They don't admit to that, but these are all securities, and you've been running a securities exchange illegally in America, and they're taking them to court over this.
And this, Ryan, in combination with just the Department of Justice going after CZ and Binance, I think is one of the reasons why the long tail of crypto assets, the market, is down this week. Like Bitcoin and Ether relatively unfazed this week. Like Ether is actually up, but like tokens are down this week. Like the long tail, like Matic, Solana, Filecoin, like all these ones like listed here are down. And that's the same thing that happened last time the SEC did this, when they actually named names. And I think just like these three-letter agencies going after crypto is kind of like rattling the markets and scaring them out of like the altcoin season. So my take here is that, we'll just kind of see a bounce back on that because that's what we've seen before. And there's nothing really new here, except there is something new, right? In line 221 of this complaint, there's this commingling funds thing that the SEC has accused Kraken of commingling funds with its own accounts and customers. So customers' funds are being commingled with each other's, and also Kraken is using customer funds to pay its bills. And so this is the one thing that's like different and new that like flagged my attention. I was like, yo, what do you mean commingling funds? What does that mean? Because that sounds very FTX-y. And in the press release from the SEC, they have like all of these bullets that I read out earlier, right? Engages in the business of effecting security transactions, provides a marketplace, blah, blah, blah. And those are the illicit allegations. But then like there's this separate paragraph that's like, oh yeah, and also, by the way, they commingled funds and they use customer funds to pay bills. Yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you lead?
Why wouldn't you lead with that?
Why wouldn't you put that in the bullets? And so like, oh, by the way, they also did this thing. And like the verbiage that they use sounds very FTX-y, right? Just like, we all have the trauma, the PTSD of like FTX using customer funds. And that's definitely what they are alluding to in this press release. Okay. So what do they mean? Like they have the statement in line 221 and 222 of the accusation. Here's what they say. Separately, Kraken treats some fiat and custodial accounts as its own and not the customers, supposedly because Kraken's customers owe Kraken fees arising from the customers' trading. This is true. For example, Kraken has at times paid operational expenses using funds held in customer custodial accounts. This is another example of improper commingling of funds that increases investor risk, which registered security intermediaries are prohibited from engaging. Kraken does not disclose to its customers that Kraken commingles customer and corporate fiat in either customer custodial accounts or Kraken's corporate operating accounts. Once again, what does this mean? Here's how this works. And this is how all crypto exchanges work, Ryan, is that when you deposit your crypto onto Kraken or Coinbase, and then you make a trade, that trade incurs a fee. This is how exchanges make business, trading fees. And so all of a sudden, the crypto that you deposit to them, some of that crypto becomes the exchanges because of the fee. But because that state is not immediately reflected on chain, well, then all of a sudden, the fee that is collected by Kraken and the customer deposits from the customer is still in the same wallet. It's still in the same address because Kraken's internal ledger and the Ethereum blockchain, or like the Polygon layer 2 or Solana, they don't update that immediately. And so in one moment of time, there is a commingling of funds because of that discrepancy.
It's just a temporary commingling is what you're saying. Yeah. This is Nick Carter who's talking about this. So something people don't understand is that there's always cross-flow between customer and exchange funds, as there's always some overlap due to ordinary latency in operations. Commingling is a big boogeyman, but all exchanges definitely have some overlap, even if for short periods. Is this seriously what the SEC is like? Yes. They are talking about it as a kind of an add-on in their list of allegations, which lead with securities, but they are like, it seems like intentionally making it sound as if Kraken is running an FTX SBF style scheme. Right. And really, it's just a technicality in the way the business operates. Detail. Are you effing serious?
So you can imagine Jesse Powell, one of the co-founders of Kraken, how like frustrated he is with this. So he follows up to Nick's tweet and says, "It's so ridiculous. There's no statutory requirement to segregate. Fees paid are, quote, commingled until they are moved out. Exchanges can have customer accounts for foreign exchange or whatever, like any other business customer. And 4, there are reorgs, chargebacks, failed settlements, and bank errors. These are all things that would lead to like a discrepancy in the ledger that needs to be accounted for with time." So yes, nice. Again, like good, it's a good little jab.
They're putting it in the press release. Those allegations will not hold up in a serious court system, right? They're just adding it to like flavor the entire list of complaints here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely bogus. So the big question here, though, is what is Kraken going to do about this? And I'll also like remind folks that earlier this year, David, it was 9 months ago, Kraken was charged again by the SEC, this time for its staking service. And at that point in time, it decided rather than go to the court system, do all these things, basically the mob boss is coming and kind of collecting, it decided to pay the penalty rather than fight the SEC.
$30 million.
$30 million. That was 9 months ago. Okay. So now the SEC is like, oh, so you're willing to pay. I guess we'll drop some more charges on you. That's what it seems like to me. Yeah. So what is Kraken going to do, David?
So here's David Ripley, operating CEO of Kraken, who says, "We strongly disagree with the SEC claims, stand firm in our view that we do not list securities and plan to vigorously defend our position."
Yes.
As we've seen
in court, Gary.
The SEC argues that Kraken should come in and register with the agency when there is no clear path to registration. Words that we've heard for like 3 years now. Its allegations are factually incorrect, contrary to law, and the wrong way to create policy in the United States. As an industry leader, we will stand up to these allegations and defend the crypto industry's right to exist in the United States.
That's
right.
We
believe congressional action is the most appropriate path to resolving the lack of regulatory clarity in the U.S. and will continue to support these efforts to bring clarity and certainty to the chaotic environment that has been created in the U.S. Saying, "Congress, will you please rein in ya boy, Gary Gensler?"
Somebody's got to.
Jesse Powell retweeted this blog post from Kraken, and he says, "USA's top decelerationist," and this is coming out of the backs of like decel is now a word that we use to describe anti-innovation in Silicon Valley and tech and crypto. Okay, so USA's top decel is back with another assault on America. He's calling the SEC and Gary Gensler a decelerationist. The masochists haven't been happy with the beatings that they've been taking in New York. I'll unpack that in a second. And are shopping for a different flavor in the reg dom in California. Regulatory dominance?
Yeah.
Wow. This is unhinged. I thought we settled all their concerns for $30 million in February. Now they're back for seconds. The message is clear. $30 million buys you about 10 months before the SEC comes back around to extort you again. Lawyers can do a lot with $30 million, but the SEC knows that a real fight will likely cost $100 million and valuable time. If you can't afford it, get your crypto company out of the United States war zone.
That's
I
crazy.
just love, I love the energy out of Jesse. Like, just calling it how it is. It's like they're just back for seconds. Yeah, extortion. Okay, I want to unpack the masochists haven't been happy with the beatings they've been taking in New York and are shopping for a different flavor of regdom in California.
Is he talking about the Ripple case?
Well, so all of the cases that the SEC has filed in New York have gotten shut down.
Lost.
The New York courts have said, Gary Gensler, go home. And so this allegation against Kraken was filed in California, which is brand new, clean slate regulatory jurisdiction. The SEC is like, hey, California, all you liberals over there, I'm a liberal, I get to say that. Will you guys like please like help us take down Kraken? Like New York's not doing it. Like, can you guys help us?
Well, they're diversifying their court cases, basically. Right. They got a new exchange and they've got a new court system in a new state, and they're trying to, like, they keep losing, but what does it cost them? I mean, they're getting paid by tax funder dollars. So it doesn't cost them anything to keep bringing these court cases. Gary Gensler clearly doesn't care what the crypto industry thinks of him. He clearly doesn't care about the legitimacy and credible neutrality of the SEC as a governing entity. He is here to advance the career and political aspirations of Gary Gensler. So he could drop whatever court case he wants at any point in time, and he does not care if he loses. That's what's so insidious. It's such a stupid tax on American innovation and our entire industry, and ultimately the 1 in 5 Americans that actually own crypto. I think, David, this man, Gary Gensler, is, under his leadership at the SEC, he is a political liability for the Democratic Party.
It's treason. It's treason.
Treason. David goes right to treason.
He's treason.
Oh man, so that's what's going on there, and it's great to see Kraken pushing back on this absolute sham of a regulator. I guess one thing we have to add at this point, of course, is full disclosure. If you're not already aware, Kraken is a sponsor of Bankless, and that's why we picked them. We picked them because they protected users for over 12 years. Gary Gensler has not even given us a Bitcoin ETF in the last 12 years. Kraken has a stellar reputation. They were first to initiate proof of reserves. We believe they are right, and the
haven't
SEC
lost
is
a dime.
Wrong. Haven't lost a dime. However,
and I just want to pull this out one more time.
Yeah.
Kraken is not doing anything wrong according to the SEC other than trading securities. And the SEC is going to Kraken and being like, hey, you guys are trading securities. But then they list a bunch of securities and they're not going out to the securities that they issue and say, hey, you guys made securities. They're going to Kraken and say, you guys are listing securities. And like Kraken's like, yo, we didn't make these things. And so they're going after the people that aren't responsible for the inceptions of the alleged securities in the first place. Yeah. Well, because they can't actually go and take Filecoin or Solana to court because they probably don't want to lose that one either.
Well, they may. Yeah. It's still early here, David.
Well, then why aren't they doing it?
Well, I bet they, who knows? Who knows what this mastermind's plans are? And the whole point of that section was to tell you that Kraken is a sponsor. And of course,
beloved sponsor.
Beloved sponsor. And of course, guys, if you want to be extra sure, just don't keep your crypto on any centralized exchange ever. Go Bankless. That's also what we encourage.
To continue leveling up your crypto game, then you need to get on the Bankless newsletter. It's the world's most popular crypto email and is completely free. Just click below to sign up.